Very important discussions right here in studio. Conservation, specifically, we are going to be talking about how to manage wastewater today on this particular session of Newscheck. Of course, a lot is happening in the country, and the first part of our conversation will center around the competency-based curriculum. But before we get into our interview, we just want to cross over very quickly to Hilton Hotel. This morning, the Education Cabinet Secretary, Professor George Magoha, is having a breakfast meeting with stakeholders to discuss this competency-based curriculum and some of the issues and concerns being raised about its implementation. Let's just cross over to that particular function. Then when we come back, we kickstart our conversations for the day. All right, we'll be getting to that particular venue very soon. We are facing a little bit of a technical hitch there with our signal, but remember, there is a lot of concern that has been raised with regards to the competency-based curriculum since we began implementing it about 5 years ago, and that is what stakeholders are discussing at the Hilton Hotel this morning. Let's just cross over and listen into some of the presentations.
Speak to that. It is not a private. There's one paper that had said that tumeificha huko chini kisirisiri. It is a public document. Thank you very much. Mudeu, you can clarify about the costs in private schools, please.
Thank you very much, Professor Fatuma Chege. On costs, the private sector, and we gave the PS a brief on what we are doing because this has been in the public domain for about 4 weeks now, since the beginning of this term. And we have begun to, push appreciation for the orange list issued by KICD to ensure that private schools adhere to the resources that are approved, and this will significantly reduce the burden on parents. We are also talking about the interpretation of curriculum to ensure that schools are encouraged to make sure that the requirements, like Madam Zubeida has mentioned, are not overwhelming to parents, and that the materials locally available are consistently used. On negative press, we urge parents and to remember that education is a tripartite. It involves three sets of groups. We have parents, we have the schools, and the teachers. Let us work in synchrony. And you've heard from all the speakers that we do have engagement frameworks available, through PTAs, and that is the way to manage issues as they arise within schools, so that they can be dealt with. It is unfortunate that this time we have had to rely on complaints on social media that are not reaching even sometimes the schools. And we need to get parents to understand that these frameworks within schools are actually embedded in the Basic Education Act, and that all schools, public and private, have these frameworks. Let us engage whenever issues arise so that we can trigger responses faster, as opposed to this method where we are relying on social media largely to sort out issues. Assessment, please note that the NEC assessments are done and marked in schools. Dr. Jagera has said that very clearly. So the schools already have feedback. We already know how the children are performing. So there is no other feedback. We don't want to create a system that is exactly mirroring the problems of 844, where children are under pressure because of dialogues that are in the public space that now bring them down and create them as failures without giving schools a chance. Every year we have assessments, we have results, because the assessments are marked in schools, and that is why you can see a normal distribution curve like you have been given, because we are working. We literally have results the day we do these assessments. So let us not expect 844 style reporting back. You will, as a parent, you will get results back from the schools, and that is where the greatest impact, because right now with CBC, assessment is part of teaching and learning. Thank you very much.
Colleagues, one thing that is standing out today is how patient our Cabinet Secretary for Education is. Please give him a clap. He has sat here for close to 2 hours. I've not heard him shout at anybody. I have seen him taking notes. And how happy are we that he'll be addressing us finally. I want to address one question, and then I usher in Mr. Duda to bring the last round of questions. Colleagues, there are things we have learned from your reports, your exposés, your questions in the last 1 week. One of them, Mr. Odhiambo Lale, is perhaps the need for us to enhance communication. And we want to assure you that our doors are open to journalists to come and ask us questions. Occasionally we fear the media like anybody else. I was telling some friend of mine who is with you that, sometimes what we worry about is that you interview me for 1 hour and then you only project where I was stammering. And then you... So Linda and Vice President, we are happy to make media appearances. The problem is that some of the people you put us with have louder voices than us. So when we come there, the little we are trying to explain is drowned, not drowned in fact, but drowned in noise. But believe me, Linda, even as I talk to you about research findings, we have these documents. Please come by and get them. Then, from the KICD perspective, because the ministry has delegated to us the issue of books, we anticipate that in private schools, because in public schools books are provided, there will just be one major course book. Then the supplementary materials that teachers refer to, and this is not new to CBC, will be available to the school for teachers to refer to. Where parents want to buy more books, that should be not be forced upon them. It should be voluntary. Mr. Duda, to you for a second round, and then our CS will make remarks at the end, and then maybe we shall be engaging later informally.
Thank you, Prof. Ongondo. We left out TSC and teachers are core. So Ruben, kindly make a response. Then after that, we'll take another round of questions. Sorry.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ndunda. There was an issue Mr. Ndunda himself raised on, we have done the trainings of the teachers, but the execution of the class seems to be having a challenge, and also the issue of the quality assurance. I want to say, ladies and gentlemen, as Dr. Jengera indicated, our teachers are effectively delivering the curriculum. The aspects that we have really insisted during training and that we have followed up even after the training is the question of the development of the learning resources. That is one of the things that we have really told every teacher. We need to have them prepare the learning resources that will make the learning easier for the learners, so that the instructional resources that are available within their locality, and they need to be improvised as much as possible so that they can be able to lessen any cost that is required. And one of the other aspects we have also discussed with the teachers, and this is one of the things which is new, they are now looking and assessing the learner's needs and the learning styles, so that they can be able to teach the learner within their needs and the learning style that the learner will be able to understand. The challenge that is there currently is the availability of the parents when they are called to school, so that they can be explained some of the things they are talking about. And I can assure you, our teachers are willing to have the parents come to school at any one time and get to know what their learners are having. Many of the schools today are actually having demonstration days of grade 1 to grade 3 of their learners, showing what they have been able to do to their parents. And therefore their parents have understood when they are asked, please get this and get the other, because they can actually see what their learners are able to demonstrate. So it is a very critical issue. We really urge that our parents are available to hear what the teachers are saying. They can be explained where they are not able to get what is required, and that will begin to encourage more engagement and empowerment of the parents if they are able to visit the schools and attend the meetings of their classes as the teachers are requesting. The last one is on the issue of are the teachers really checked what they are doing to see if they are doing what is expected. I want to say with all confidence, yes. Because at the zonal level, we have assigned 25 schools to a curriculum support officer. And the curriculum support officer goes to school to be able to check how the teachers are teaching through the use of lesson observation. They sit in class and they professionally support the teacher so that the teacher can be able to deliver as expected, and they are able to report and compile a report to say this is what is happening in this school, and this is what we have completely followed and done at each point, ladies and gentlemen. And I want to say all parents really can be able to go to school and even visit the curriculum offices so that they can be able to understand what is really happening. And I want to say from our studies, and you can go to our KBC Online and get to the TPAN report that was done in all the counties in the country, reflecting how teaching is being done in schools today. The report is there, and it was done by an external evaluator, not even Teacher Service Commission. It was done by UNES of the University of Nairobi, and they came up with very clear aspects of what is learning, and you can be able to get that in class. One of the aspects that has come out very, very clearly is the issue of the way values are being taught now. Learners are able to even show the aspects of saying thank you, I am sorry, which has not been there before. And ladies and gentlemen, these are things that we want to inculcate in our society. And so the classroom issues are really catered for, and we are monitoring. Even from the TSC and quarters, we monitor every one term. We are monitoring as our county directors and our curriculum support officers and our sub-county directors and the officers in the Ministry of Education, the quality assurance, are working together to see that we have really success and proper monitoring done at the school level. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Ruben. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll now take the last round of questions and comments. And as we go towards that, one thing I would want to ask Dr. Juan to address, and he made allusion to it, that CBC has generally broad curriculum but flexible. It's something that needs clarification, because in the public domain there have been questions that is a wide curriculum, yet there are questions of pathways and that we need to talk about later on. CBC is broad in terms of the range of subjects it offers, but it has options, the pathways. So you need to give clarity to the public so that the public are aware that why do we have a broad curriculum, and how do my children come in, and how am I supposed to support or advise my children on what to do. All right. Then, colleagues, I want to open up the floor. So I have Phyllis. Then this side, I have Juma, I have Augustine. So, right. Prof, you will bear with me, you will have about 5 or 6. So, we have the last two here and there. Prof, we know that you're always a patient person. You will take many hours doing surgery, so you can also give us a few. All right, so.
upuzi wako sitaki. Na nakwambia sitaki siku nyingine.
Ni ndoto, yani naota ndoto mbaya kila saa.
Wacha kujifanya wazimu hapa wewe. Wewe unajua kila kitu. You know everything.
Na siwezi kumfanyia kitu chochote nikamdhuru. I swear.
Taki anti pia anipe kazi zake tena. Wili mama na pepo chafu.
Kate, please. Oja mimi ni mpenzi wangu Kate. Please niachilie.
Flowers too.
Your father and I decided that it's about time that you and I finally get engaged.
I don't ask for much. I only wish that you'd give me the proper treatment and rightful place as your wife.
Elias is the man that she is going to marry. Period.
Why did you make me believe all my life that my father was dead?
I like you.
Yo, mambo vipi watu wangu popote pale mlipo, nasema asanteni sana jamaa kwa kujiunga na mimi kila wakati kupitia kipindi Top Mashariki kupitia Channel 1, au sio? Nambari 1 mtu wangu nchini Kenya, KBC. Kama vipi mtu wangu, nasema asanteni sana jamaa. Kumbukeni kwamba Top Mashariki itakuwa inakujia kila siku ya Jumanne saa 4 usiku. Yani katika mpango mzima ni Jumanne kuanzia saa 4 usiku.
You must know, young women shouldn't be practicing medicine.
You thought that it wouldn't hurt. This is serious. You're talking about someone's life. Chiyu, if you became emperor, I'd be the emperor's mother. When that happens, no one in the world will dare to mistreat us.
Since you know medicine, why not put it to good use and save Mrs. Yu's life?
I guess I'm just gonna have to marry her now.
Someone like Duke Wang, it's likely she'll go easy on you.
Shut up!
Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. The program you're watching is Newscheck. In case you're just joining us, this show seeks to explore issues shaping conversation in the country, and today we dedicate this program to talk about matters education on the first part of our conversation, and of course later we'll be talking about waste management. But in studio joining me this morning to discuss matters competency-based curriculum and how learners with special needs have been captured in the ongoing implementation of the new curriculum curriculum. I have a panel of two, a lady and a gentleman. I'll start from the far left, the lady. Her name is Serfine Mbeke. She is a desk officer of disability mainstreaming at the Kenya Institute of Special Education. Thank you, Serfine, for creating time. And of course, joining Serfine is Daniel Sanoe. He is the academic registrar at the Kenya Institute of Special Education. Thank you, Daniel.
Thank you.
So today we are talking about the competency-based curriculum, and of course before we started our interview, currently there is an ongoing forum, a stakeholders breakfast meeting that the Education CS Professor George Magoha is having with stakeholders in the education sector to discuss the implementation of the competency-based curriculum. So to start this conversation, I'd just like to understand from your both perspectives how you understand the competency-based curriculum in the context of special needs. You know, we have defined it, but we have not really sink deep into looking at it in terms of special needs. What does it mean to have a competency-based curriculum?
Thank you so much. I want to start by saying that if there's a curriculum that actually is catered for children with disabilities, the competency-based curriculum. Because for once, we have a pathway, a specific pathway called stage-based pathway for children with disability. Especially that caters for 5 categories of children with disabilities: those who are mentally challenged, those who have severe cerebral palsy, those who are deaf-blind, those who have severe autism, and those who have multiple disabilities. So it caters for those 5 categories. And this one, it doesn't matter the age of the child, and it has stages. It has 4 stages. The first one is foundation stage. Then it has intermediate stage, pre-vocational and vocational stage. Besides that, other children who can undergo the regular curriculum, they undergo regular curriculum with adaptation. For example, children who are visually impaired, children who are hearing impaired, and children who have physical impairment. So those 3 categories are going through the regular curriculum with adaptations, and their curriculums have been adapted to actually suit their various needs. However, there is room for the teacher to further adapt, because it's actually the teacher who is supporting this learner on day-to-day basis, and therefore it's the teacher who knows the learner best and knows what the learner needs most. And therefore, the teacher has been given room, in as much as, yes, there are those curriculum designs that have been adapted to suit their needs in specific learning areas, there is room for further adaptation for these children, and therefore they are fully catered for in the competency-based curriculum.
I like how we began this on an assuring note, and I'd just like you to add on what Serfine said, Daniel. You know, we've had this competency-based curriculum conversation for quite a very long time right now, but there is very little that is being discussed with regards to learners with special needs. So what would you say in terms of your level of satisfaction, in terms of how the CBC has captured the learning needs of learners with special needs?
Yeah, thank you very much. Initially, in the earlier curriculum, we never really focused learners with special needs the way it has been focused currently. Let me tell you the specific difference. Initially, we used to hear of special schools and units and small homes, but we have come from a situation where we look at learners in terms of the institutions they attend, and have come to a situation where we look at learners in terms of the competencies they have got in them, or rather the skills they have been able to acquire through the school system. Currently, we have got pathways in our curriculum, the way Serfine has said. We have got an age-based pathway where you say children this age are in grade 1. Children this age go to grade 2.
This has never happened before.
To a level where in special needs we say, if you are a child with special needs, you have got your own pathway, which was never there. And we say it is called a stage-based pathway. We are not talking of age. We are talking of stage, that you could be 13 years and you could be at the foundation stage because of your competencies.
Because I was about to ask you what principles guide then how to decide
it is not
where
the
a learner
age,
is in terms of the stages.
It is the competencies you have. Listen to this. You could be 13 years, but we are teaching you to lace your shoe because of your ability. You could be 6 years, but we are teaching you to rub your nose, or rather to wipe your nose, because you don't understand it. In special needs, we teach you according to your needs. And that is why you say, assess the child before they come to the school system. Once they come, what are their needs? This child is unable to wipe their nose, they are unable to wear their shoe, they are unable to button their shirt. So then we educate you according to your, or rather we instruct you according to your needs.
All right.
Once you are able to do that, then we move you to another level and say, oh, able now to do some little craft. Able to achieve that? Yes. Move them to another level. Now they are able to produce some items sellable for the market, like beads, like mats. That is where we are now regarding the stage-based.
This was something that wasn't really there before, or if it was, we were not very keen on it. Trufena,
I'll say that these children were in special schools, especially those whose major disability is mental disability, but they never had opportunity to transit to the next level because the other curriculum was so rigid, and therefore they were not able to transit to the next level and even to the world of work. But now this competency-based curriculum is giving them opportunity to move from one level to another. And why do we call it stage-based? The child does not have to move the next year. The child has to acquire the competencies they need to acquire before they move to the next level.
So it doesn't matter how long. Depends. Every learner is different.
And each one of them has an IEP, individualized education program. So each one could be learning the same class. Each one could be learning different things depending on their level, and until the teacher says this child is now ready to transit to the next level, then the child cannot transit. So it doesn't matter how long the child takes in this level, so long as they are later they are able to gain the competencies that will enable them to move to the next level.
Okay, I want to move to the next question, but before I ask this, maybe it would be important for the sake of our viewer to understand your mandate as KISE, because my question is centered around the level of involvement of stakeholders representing learners with special needs in the crafting of the competency-based curriculum, such as yourself, KISE. How were you involved in the crafting before we get to the implementation stage, so that we are assured as a populace that the needs of the learners with special needs were actually captured from the onset when all this was being crafted? So let's start from what KISE is all about and what it represents.
Thank you very much. One of the key mandates of KISE, is training of teachers and other personnel to serve special needs education and disability. Obviously you will understand the teachers, very simple, but other personnel, people like sign language interpreters, people like braille transcribers, people like scribes, so other personnel to serve in special needs and disability. That's a key mandate. And therefore, regarding CBC, we now came in to give advice on what teacher training what teacher do we want to produce to serve in the CBC. Another key function or role of KISE is assessment of children with special needs and disabilities. Listen to this. The CBC says, before you place a child, assess them so that you know where they come into the school system. And therefore KISE says, we have got a role to provide assessment tutors in the school system to assess the disability determine the disability, or rather the disabling condition, determine the needs arising from that disability, then provide this starting level and continue. So we have got people we call assessment officers, whom we have got a mandate to train across the country, and the assessment centers across the country. So that's another role of KISE, assessment of children with special needs and disabilities. And we have got a national assessment center in KISE, which has been established by government to then provide assessment and education for assessment officers.
How long has this been happening though? Is it something that was there before the CBC, or it's
Assessment has been there, but you realize that it has even become a major component of CBC. These children, as much as there's stage-based and age-based, there are arrows that face both sides, meaning that a child can move from stage-based after reassessment and realizing probably the child was not placed rightly and go to the age-based with adaptations. Or the child, we may have the child in stage-based and realize, oh, this child is not really doing well in this age-based, and probably after reassessment we take the child now to stage-based, where the child actually would be supported appropriately. So it was there, but now it's being
it's more pronounced. Yeah. All right. So as you are going to this discussion table as stakeholders, I just want you to give me 3 things you're looking out in terms of sort of like your objective. At the end of all this, we want this and this and this to have been captured within the CBC. In terms of even the training of teachers and other personnel, what were those fundamental issues that you said must be captured in the CBC for you to feel like the special needs of learners have been well captured?
Okay, one of the things is we've always wanted all schools where children with disability are to have what is known as teacher aid, currently called learner support assistant. A curriculum has been developed by KICD, and KISE is actually training learner support assistants even as we talk currently. There is also an aspect of sign language, and we've always wanted a country where children can communicate with each other, and therefore sign language has been introduced. Kenya Sign Language has been introduced as one of the learning areas, an elective, of course, learning area that every child can take from grade 4. Another thing, we never had a curriculum design on mobility and orientation, which actually has been begun mobility and orientation with a new curriculum. So all children, especially those who will be going through the stage-based curriculum, will actually undergo orientation and mobility. When I'm talking about orientation and mobility, most of us think that is only for children with visual impairment. But even a child with physical disability who is being trained to use mobility devices did that mobility and orientation. So it's actually a course that has been introduced. Yeah.
Allow me to add one. Another key issue is what we call Individualized Education Program, IEP. The CBC says, for every child with special needs in education going to school, provide individualized education, meaning teach them and let them learn according to their needs, so that you don't provide a general curriculum to them that may not focus on my needs. If my needs are behavior management, to manage my behavior, then provide an individualized education program for them, therefore for them to be able to move forward.
All right. I've captured, very key areas that you wanted the CBC to address. The learner support assistance, the sign language also as a requirement. Right now you're saying it's actually being offered as an elective. And of course mobility and orientation, not just for learners who are visually impaired, but general. And of course individualized education program, which are very critical areas, learning areas. I also want us to look at many people would actually question the ability and the thinking and how the mind of learners is wired. Look at 2 people, a learner with special needs and a learner who may not necessarily have special needs. How are they wired, so that we can understand as we are addressing their learning needs, what exactly should we consider? Just as a teacher or as a trainer, look at these 2 people. You've been presented with these two learners. What is it that you're supposed to be sensitive to as somebody who is supposed to be addressing the learning needs of these 2 learners?
That's a very interesting question, but very good. Essentially, when children arrive in a school or in a class, the main thing is their ability to capture information you give. But beyond that, there's what we call psychosocial aspects of disabilities. Psychosocial aspects will involve things you may not be able to teach academically, which are more important than the academics. Psychosocial aspects are things like attitude. Attitude towards the way you teach them. Attitude towards, for example, the teacher's attitude towards a child. The attitude of the curriculum you have developed towards the child? How does the art curriculum focus on the child? Is it made for this child or is it made for the general population? That is a key issue when it comes to children with special needs, psychosocial aspects of that disability. Another key issue is the way the teachers look at the child when they come to school. Is this child looked like a child with inability to understand what I'm teaching? Is it because of disability that they will fail? Or is it because of mental ability? So there are key issues that one must look at when educating them. Yeah.
You can also add, and also inform how these two learners ought to be assessed, right? Those fundamental principles you have raised, right? Is there anything you'd like to add on that?
Okay, personally, as a teacher, if I get these two children in my class, of course, the other one, I may just give my normal assessment to find out the entry behavior. But this particular one, I may need the help of functional assessment so that I know exactly what to cater for. And remember, some of these children have gone through a lot of psychological issues at home. And as he was saying, actually, it's very important that we look at the psychosocial aspect, because even these children are already coming with attitude. Because by the time a child is about maybe 4 or 5, they already know that they are different. And how do I deal with this aspect of reassuring the child that, you may be different, yes, but you're still capable of doing ABC. And for me, learning is not about academics. For me, if I move a child from one level to another, a child comes to my class who is very withdrawn, and I'm able to make the child socialize, then for me, learning has taken place. A child comes to my class who doesn't know how to go to the toilet, and I teach the child how to use the toilet and even flush and do everything and wash their hands. For me, learning has taken place. So for me, that is what learning is, and that's how I'll treat these two children differently. I'll actually not set the same goals. I'll have different goals or different objectives for these children. And even as we train teachers in KISE, when we do IEP, and that IEP subject, there's always an objective for that specific learner, which is different. So as the other learners who probably are average and above average are doing something else, I could be sitting somewhere else supporting this particular child to achieve what he or she can do without really frustrating the child.
I like one thing you've said about how you rate learning. It's as basic as a learner just being able to do something they couldn't do before, like using the washroom, like, tying their shoelaces. They couldn't do that before. Now they can. They have actually learned. Are we there as a country to look at education in those lenses, Daniel? I mean, many of us, it's just all about passing exams and getting the good grades and getting a job. That's how people are wired. Are we at a place where we are beginning to look at learning in a different perspective?
That is the challenge we have when it comes to education of these children, because the parents will want to come to the school and ask you, what are the grades of my child? They want to say, what did they score in English? What did they score in mathematics? But for us in special needs education, that is not the focus. The focus is, what are the skills, and specifically regarding activities of daily living. What is more important to a human being? Is it the academics or to be able to function in life? Is it education for living or education for life? What is more important? For us, it is education for life. Not the money you make, not really, but the ability to communicate, the ability to ask, where is the matatu going to town? The ability to get to a matatu and pay. That is more important for us. But for the country, many people are still saying, what did you score in mathematics? What did you score in English? But slowly by slowly, the country has come to accept, I can tell you that, because CBC has already created a pathway for these children, meaning they have appreciated that apart from the academics, there is the other side of life which is more important, the skill competencies children have gained in school. And I think we have already come this far in through the CBC by creating a pathway for children with special needs, which is called the stage-based pathway, which is a skill-based pathway. So I think we are there.
We are getting there.
We are there.
Oh, we are there.
We are.
Let me correct myself. But I think even apart from the special needs education, even in the other regular education, CBC also is trying to sort of, instill the skill-based way of education as opposed to just passing exams and all that. I want us to look at the inequalities that the previous curriculum, imposed on learners. It was all about who got the best grades, who passed the exams, who managed to get to the next level, and those learners who sort of didn't meet the threshold felt like they were being left out of the education system. Many just dropped out along the way, and this is what I believe CBC is trying to address. I want us to talk about how crucial, being sensitive to these needs is in terms of assessing the learners, and tie this with the upcoming conference that you guys are organizing. What are some of the key issues you're looking at when it comes to assessing the capabilities and the know-how of every learner? I mean, what should we be considering so that nobody is left out? We all have something. We may not get an A, but we are good at something. Yeah.
Okay, I'll begin with assessment, and especially in relation to the CBC. We realize that even now, NEC has realized the need to even adapt their assessment methodology, let me call it that. For example, if maybe there is fingerprinting, and I have a child who does not have a finger because the child is an amputee, then the child can maybe fit print or stamp print instead of fingerprint. So that one is one of them. Have a child probably read aloud. Have a child with cerebral palsy who doesn't have speech. Then read aloud may not work. So there'll have to be an alternative assessment methodology for this child. So already they're actually catering for such children. And we all know even from the previous curriculum, in as much as, yes, there were issues, there were gaps, but we realize even in the previous curriculum, for example, I'm a teacher of home science, but my students, if they're VI, they were not stitching, they were not doing the stitching. Instead, there was an alternative. They would knit or crochet instead. They were not doing chemistry because they could not see as they titrate. So they were doing biology and physics. So even the other curriculum was catering for them, but not to a large extent as CBC. And assessment actually was being done. Okay, that is now assessment in terms of what they are learning was being done. Some adaptations, of course, were being done. But again, the only thing that I think that time was being given to a great extent was 30 minutes, which was a blanket time. Trufena may not need the 30 minutes. Somebody else may need extra. 30 minutes may not be adequate. So now at least they've realized that every other person needs to be catered for differently in terms of assessment. I know it's a really, really big deal to cater for, reach out to everybody, ensure that you assess them the right way. But actually now that is happening. And, they are also very responsive to feedback. I remember a teacher from Joyland Primary called me and told me, oh, Trufena, we've just received a test and assessment. And apparently we have children with CP and there is this question on read aloud. And I was like, why can't you call somebody from NEC? And I even gave a number. And at least they were quite responsive. So you realize that now we are realizing that everybody matters and everybody's needs should be catered for, irrespective of the differences. And I'm so grateful for that. And in terms of assessment for placement, the functional assessment, it's functional and educational assessment, of course. We don't do it for replacement. We also need to do it, for example, for referral. We may need it to do it for other maybe interventions, like even medical intervention, because we refer them also. So that once that is done, and that's why we even need other professionals to work with us. We collaborate with maybe physiotherapists, occupational therapists, and even in Kise we have them. We have physiotherapists, we have occupational therapists, we have speech therapists. Therefore, once we realize that this child needs other support other than educational, then of course these other professionals join us to ensure that we are able to support the child fully to be able to acquire the competencies that they require, they need. So maybe my colleague will pick from there.
And as you pick from there, I like what you've said about the multi-sectorial engagement of stakeholders, not just from the education sector, but even in the health sector. As you add on what she has said, also talk to us about the upcoming conference on assessment. It's really pivotal for you as KISE. Why is assessment a major issue, so that we just understand more about what's coming up?
Thank you. On the 24th and 25th of November, we shall have a conference dubbed Functional Assessment. Functional assessment, not basically academic or any other assessment. Functional assessment because it is the assessment of how the person functions, how the child is functioning, be it academics, be it social, be it communication, be it cognitive, the functioning of the person as a whole. Linking it to CBC, CBC says before the child gets to the school system, assess. That is now a standard requirement. Assess so that you are able then to, one, do correct placement. Where do they need? Is it a special school? Can they fit into the regular school? And two, as you get to where you place them, provide the appropriate education. Appropriate education in terms of what is their capacity. So then you don't teach algebra to a child who requires shoelacing. As simple as that.
Wow.
Once you are there, then you now come to assessment and say, while you require assessment for education, what assessment are you doing? Are you doing the right assessment? So we are saying in the conference, can we discuss tools? What tools are we using to assess these children? Are they reliable? Are they valid? Are we having the correct tools? If you want to assess a child who is gifted and talented, so that then you can have correct placement for them, you don't waste them. Are you using the right tools? That is the engagement we want. And then we are also saying, although we have the right tools, are we using the right procedures? Can this child write in order to be assessed, or do we need to observe? Because they are young children, you cannot instruct them to write. And if you are doing observation, could that observation be very liable to personal prejudices? So then you have got the wrong assessments of children. That is the kind of engagement we want to have in the conference, to really come up with the right way of assessing children, so that then we have got the right placement, so that we have got the correct provision of children under CBC. Yes.
It's very interesting how detailed you put it. So who are you targeting with this functional assessment engagement, and how is it going to be done?
Thank you. Quite some time back, Trofena is quite aware, the country established educational assessment and resource centers. We call them in short EACs across the country, way back early 80s. We went on with assessment of children, and there are assessment centers across every county in this country. Like 47, we have got 47 assessment centers. Even at the sub-county level, there are assessment centers. And they are staffed with assessment officers. Many a times they are teachers. But together with the teachers, children come to the assessment center, they are assessed, and they could come up with multidisciplinary teams. Teams of physiotherapists, speech therapists, medical doctors, and they determine what is the nature of disability, what is the degree of this disabling condition, therefore what is the placement of this child. Our focus therefore in the conference is to capacity build the assessment staff who are already there in the assessment centers in the country. That is our focus, and we shall be targeting like 230 assessment officers. Yes.
230?
Yes.
Wow. So this will be virtual or physical?
It will be physical. They'll be coming to KISE, but we shall be providing a link for any person who wants to log in, and any other person who is unable to come to the conference to be able to listen and benefit.
All right. This is from the 24th?
24th and the 25th of November. And you're welcome.
Thank you for that. Of course, it's going to go a long way in addressing some of the issues that, are coming up as we go ahead to implement the competency-based curriculum. And talking about those issues emanating, I told you there's a forum currently happening at Hilton Hotel. Stakeholders are discussing this very matter that we are talking about here in studio. And one of the issues that came up earlier from one of the speakers is the engagement of parents. And I want to probe you both on this particular issue. What is the role of the parent in this, for this competency-based curriculum to be successful? What are they expected to do?
Okay, go.
Thank you.
Okay.
I'll start it off, and then
no problem. Go ahead.
We are very much aware as an institute that the parent is very central to CBC. What we are doing, first of all, before we say what their role, is that in the last 2 weeks, the institute, recognizing the central role of the parent, has developed a manual together with other stakeholders like the NGOs, specifically Humanity and Inclusion, did sit down and said the parents need to come up and get engaged as per the provisions in the CBC. And we have come up with a parents' manual on how the country and specifically education sector can engage the parents in the implementation of the competency-based curriculum. So a manual is there in place for engagement of parents.
All right, just add on to that.
I just want to say I'm very traditional, and I believe that for us to really, I'll start with a traditional approach. For us to be able to have that saucepan balance on a traditional cooking stove, we must have 3 stones. And the 3 stones is the parent, the teacher, and the child for education to actually balance. And because of that, a parent is a very crucial stakeholder in education. And there's no way a parent can be left out. And especially when it comes to education of children with disability, parents tended to distance themselves. And in fact, a child with disability, because me I've taught in a special school, was the last to be brought to school. And you ask, why is the child brought to school? I was taking the ones who are okay before bringing this one who is, actually they call them unwell, the sick. So again, it's very important that we now show these parents. I'm not saying all of them are like that, but I would say most of them. And they will drop the child, and some of them, actually even some schools, had to come up with a penalty at the end of the term, such that if your child stays for 1 extra day, there's a penalty, so that you realize the importance of taking your child home. There are parents even here in Nairobi who will tell you, I can't take my child home because I live on the 3rd floor and my child is on wheelchair. Why should your child be on wheelchair? I mean, why should you live on 3rd floor when you know your child is on wheelchair in the first place? So again, we are trying to encourage parents to really, really be part and parcel of the child's life. Remember, a parent is very crucial in a child's life. And when you are part of that education, the child sees the essence of education. And therefore, we are encouraging parents to really, really be there to support the children. And for us, especially in special needs, there are some skills that you cannot do without the parents. For example, children with mental disability, there's something called transfer of knowledge. If I'm teaching a child how to make bed in school, and the parents is not teaching the child the same way how to make the bed at home, then the child will not see the relationship between the bed at home and the bed in school. So that relationship, it should be there, so that the child see connection between this bed. So I will write to the parent and tell the parent, currently we are doing this. I'm teaching the child the skill of making a bed, and therefore this is how I'm doing it. So when Trufena comes home in the evening, kindly teach her how to make bed in this manner, so that there's that connection from school to home.
Talking about the connection from school to home, that is what many parents are actually lamenting about, especially when it comes to the implementation of CBC. Many are saying, first, it is giving them an added responsibility. They're back from work, they're tired, and then they're told, oh, teacher said we take a picture of this, teacher said we do this. They feel like there's so much involved in this CBC implementation. It's actually beginning to take a toll on them. And others are also lamenting over the cost that it comes with it, the things that they're required to buy as parents, the books, there's just so much requirement from the school that is taking also a toll on the parent, economically speaking. What can you comment about those two?
That one is right. We expect that one from the parents at the moment. Reason being, many of those parents are graduates of a curriculum. I
give you 30 seconds.
Thank you. A curriculum that was academic, that was never skill-based. But now we have moved to a skill-based, competency-based curriculum. And therefore, that is where the disconnect is. They were used to this one, but now children are learning skill-based kind of curriculum. That is where they disconnect, but I think moving forward, that is the right way to go.
Right.
And they could also leverage on technology.
Thank you so much, Daniel, for creating time. Daniel Sanoe there, Academic Registrar, the Kenya Institute of Special Education. Of course, also I've been talking to Trufena Mbeke, a Desk Officer, Disability Mainstreaming at the Kenya Institute of Special Education. Thank you both. Of course, we cannot complete this conversation in one sitting. We'll be picking it up in the near future. Right now, I just want us to quickly cross over to the Hilton Hotel. Currently speaking is the Education CS Professor George Magoha on matters CBC and issues being raised with regards to its implementation. When we come back, we'll be taking our conversation to the next interview. So let's just go to Hilton Hotel for now.
Go to the platform which is called Google Scholar Citation and confirm for yourself whether any of us are fake professors or fake doctors. In fact, if I add Dr. Ntamburi, then we are now about 7. And if you go to the Deputy Vice Chancellor at a public university, Mudeo Kasanga, then the rest is history. We know for sure as a government that nothing is perfect. We also know for sure that CBC is not perfect. But we also know for sure that it left the station in 2018, even before I was appointed, through His Excellency's wisdom, to be Cabinet Secretary. It has left that station, it is moving forward. And by the grace of God, I'm the one sitting on that horse whom you have said I'm sitting and looking back. Which is all right. That I'm sitting and the horse is looking this side and I'm looking back. Now that is satirical, but it is in your own imagination. And do not be surprised if we come out very strongly telling you that there are certain facts which have been deliberately ignored by both the so-called specialists and the most learned members of the press. You ignore because you have refused to check. Most of the facts are available. For example, on the small matter of the digital learning program, you are aware, and it is on the website, if you care to look, that in every county, in the public schools, the devices are there to be used by children and to be used by teachers. And on the issue of connectivity, the government of His Excellency Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta is very active in ensuring that every part of this country is covered. Not to mention that we have also other collaborators like UNICEF who have gone ahead and ensured that the areas of this country who may be lacking internet are being facilitated. So when you start saying, oh, we all know that technology is there for the future, to portray government as if it is doing nothing, ladies and gentlemen, is being unfair. It's being unfair, and don't demonize me for saying so, because the facts are there. That was the first point. The second point is a very simple one. Ladies and gentlemen, you are talking about quality assurance.
in my life, and I think I have taught for quite a number of years, the people I taught are now professors. So that can tell you how many years you think I've taught. From undergraduates, they are now professors. So when I got into this docket, I was thrown into the abyss because I had now to deal with small kids. And since I don't trust anybody, I started going to primary schools. And I think in my assessment, I've been to close to 500 primary schools across the nation. I have personally interacted. I don't say where I am going. Occasionally, you snoop around and follow me. I have never found a classroom. I have never found a CBC classroom not being attended to by a competent teacher. So what the hell are you people talking about? Who has stopped you from going there? I have never met a child, whether it is in Matu, whether it is in Kwale, where I have been several times, and that chap who was talking about Kwale does not know what he's talking about. I keep saying that Governor Mvurya is one of the best governors in this country, and the reason is this. I found that the ECD preparation in Kwale is top. I have visited many of them. I have visited many primary schools in Kwale, and the teachers there are excellent, and they are teaching. I don't need to be told by anybody. If you have information to the contrary, let us have it. Don't say, oh, you know, the teachers are not prepared. Which teachers are not prepared? You have now just been told by the experts that 229,000 of them have been trained. And I want to say that is true. Because me, I don't believe on reports, even reports from my quality assurance officers. I sample, and I want to salute our teachers and to thank the Teacher Service Commission through Dr. Nancy Macharia and the chair of the Teacher Service Commission for the dedication our teachers have had for the CBC program. You go and look at the children from Mombasa to Kilifi to Siaya to Busia. The children are happy. And I'm mutually attracted to the poor children. I don't go to the children of the vice president because I know the vice president can afford to do anything she wants. So I go to the slums in the Kibiras of this world, in Kiandutu. How are the children being handled in CBC? Are they happy? Now, if they are happy and we have a children's rights, ladies and gentlemen, are we right to say that you want to go to court when you already have 5 million children happy to engage? They enjoy what they are doing. It is true that there are challenges. Why don't you bring those challenges in a manner that we can accept that you are not doing it for other issues? Why? Because if you come to me and you are 90% of what you are saying is incorrect, even the 10% you are saying that is correct, do you think I will listen to it? I will not listen, because then I will be asking, what is wrong with you? And we have no apologies to make to anybody. This competency-based curriculum is here to stay in my life. It is the most transformative thing I have seen. It is the most transformative thing I have seen. I used to be worried that our teachers will compromise it. Dr. David Njegere has just shown you that even the teachers love it. Because in the many classrooms that I have been, even if I sit in a classroom for just half an hour, I'm able to see which child is more active than the other, putting his hand 10 times, although he will only be called once, another one will be able to put once. You cannot push those children down, even if you are wicked. And the system is there. Why do you want to ask, how are you going to select? What the hell are you talking about? It is already there. It is already there. So if you have the top 10%, it will come naturally. And you take them without prejudice, not with the 844 where people used to pay money in briefcases, and then when they come to the university to do medicine, after the first term, they all disappear. After 5 years, from 500, you graduate 200. Where did the 300 go? I am not the type of person that you can persuade or ask to lobby. As I go to be with my ancestors, when the time comes, how I wish that our people will be reasonable to allow the competency-based curriculum, to allow my seeds to be able to be trained to do something. Because every job is important. You have been talking about universities. What about the technical sector? We are going to identify people who are experts in the technical sector and train them in the pathway. We are going to identify the musicians so that they can be trained in their own pathway and they will be respected. You don't have to to go and become something else because you can't pass mathematics. Who has told you need maths to be a musician? So before you say that we should stop this and rethink, give us your facts. And you don't have any. We are happy that you have mentioned today, when I listen very carefully, you have certain points which get clouded when you go to television. And here I'm not sparing the media, and you will forgive me for not sparing you. Because somebody says something that is obviously incorrect, and your anchor person does not point it out to him. And the narrative continues to go. So you ask, well, what the hell is going on here? For example, when you say, oh, we have not trained teachers. Who in Kenya does not know that we have trained teachers? I was trained as a surgeon, a general surgeon. Now, when you have already trained a general surgeon, who does all the things about the rest of the body, if you want to go and train him to just do the P, you don't have to go and start training him again for all the 10 years. Then you end up with, you just tweak him to do the P, the area of the P. Do you understand? I believe it is the same for teachers. Why are we making things so difficult? What do people want to do when they demonize one of the most important things that is going to be the presidential legacy project? If it is politics, excuse me, I don't do it and leave me out of it. But I want to assure the nation and the parents that as far as we are concerned, we are going to do everything possible to ensure that CBC is a success. In terms of costs, for the up 10th time, I was in London with His Excellency the President when they were raising money for children. And I was actually shocked. Somebody attempted to say it here, but she didn't say it correctly. Let me say it in a traditional manner. We are looking at the African countries and how much they give education. Kenya was way at the top at 25.9%. 25.9%. The others were as down as 14%. So when you hear all the so-called experts who have trained everywhere saying, you must fund, what is it that they are talking about? What is it? What they should be asking is to challenge us to ensure that we get value for our money. But as far as the government is concerned, the government is already at the top, and you know that for sure, of the budget. There's no other African country. If you like, go and do the research yourselves. I think the South Africans are way behind at 22 or 23%. So when you open your mouth and shout on television, which is seen everywhere in the world, don't look like you didn't go to school. No, it is true. I'm not insulting anybody. I'm just saying the truth here. And so if we are to move in the same direction, why is CBC expensive? First of all, it is unfair for you to ask us to say, no, you tell us how much it will cost to implement CBC. That is for people who did not go to school. You should be asking yourself, how much money is government giving per child this time, and is the government giving it?
All right. That is the Education Cabinet Secretary, Professor George Magoha, addressing stakeholders at a breakfast meeting currently happening to discuss issues that are emanating in the ongoing implementation process of the competency-based curriculum. We'll be giving you more details about this forum as we proceed in our day's coverage. And of course, also at the same venue, there's another forum happening. This is by the Media Council of Kenya. They are launching the report of the betting task force that centers around looking at issues of uncontrolled betting and gambling. We are going to be crossing over to that particular function right now just to look at how the media is, the role that the media plays in, managing this whole issue. Currently speaking is the Managing Director of the Kenya Broadcasting Corporation, and Mr. Naim Bilal. Let's just listen into what he has to say.
Was that gambling must be conducted in a manner that mainstreams, promotes the public good, not just the commercial interests of those involved in it. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Doc. Quick comments? Kama uko sawa? Okay.
All right, that forum currently happening at Hilton Hotel. Like I told you earlier, it's the launch of a report of the task force on betting that was received. It touches on media activities that relate on gambling and other issues. Of course, this report came about following concerns of unregulated gambling and promotion of related activities in the media. So stakeholders are just discussing how what role the media has to play when it comes to controlling betting and gambling in the country. And also we'll be giving you details about this particular forum as we continue with our day's coverage. In studio, we want to take our next interview up right about now. And joining me in studio is the CEO of EcoSave Africa, Mr. Daniel Wanjuki. Mr. Daniel Wanjuki is an award-winning environmentalist and has done quite a lot of research, and not just research, has also been very pivotal in the practical engagement of helping us as a country to be more environmentally friendly, and of course also help us better manage our waste. So thank you so much, Daniel, for creating time for us this morning.
Thank you for inviting me over, and it's a pleasure to be here.
All right. Of course, it's very timely that we're having you. The World Cleanup Day is just coming up on the 18th of September. A lot is happening, I believe, from your end, even right now.
Yes.
Just let's start there. What is it that we should be looking out for? Right now, you're actually leading a very important campaign, Adopt a River, that targets the whole world and cleaning up our rivers globally. How is that even possible, and how are you going about this?
Thank you. Over a period of time, we've talked about the river cleaning. We've gone to the river and trying to do something about it. And the world is not a Kenyan problem, actually. It's all over the world. Some countries have tried to clean their rivers, like the River Thames has been cleaned in a similar manner. And so the world woke up to the idea that, we can do something about our rivers so that we protect people who use these resources downstream. We've noticed that plastic and the wastewater, that water gets into the rivers, and innocently, an animal that has always for years taken water from the river will still do that. The same with humans. The people of Makueni or Machakos have not changed their source of water. They still go to the river. But up river, we know what is happening, that we actually call the rivers toxic rivers. So to protect those people using water downstream and give them the benefits, we call them the ecosystem services that a river should give them: irrigation, watering the animals, drinking water, cleaning, all that, and even recreation. With the United Nations, through and in partnership with Rotary International, came up with the idea of cleaning the rivers, and the project is dubbed Adopt a River Initiative. That is Rotary United Nations Adopt a River Initiative. And this we are actually ideally was supposed to be launched here in Kenya. This is the pilot where the project was piloted. However, because of COVID, so many
things have happened.
A lot of time has been lost. So other countries have actually even started doing that. But here in Kenya, we are launching the project on 18th of September. It coincides with the World Cleanup Day. So we'll be doing the cleanup of the environment and also the Adopt a River project, which involves practically picking out waste from the river and also setting up traps that will prevent, these are traps that will capture debris, plastic bottles, stuff that end up in the river that now can be captured, and we pass this material to youths and the women groups who can use it as a source of income.
As you say that, I want you to really clarify on how to keep the waste from getting back to the rivers in the first place, because we've done like cleaning up Nairobi River. This is like a conversation that has been, we've had this conversation over and over for several years. That exercise of cleaning up Nairobi River, it's been done over and over. How do we then ensure that it's not just about cleaning the river, but actually not having any waste going to the rivers?
Thank you. It's true that previous attempts at cleaning the river have involved us wearing gumboots and raincoats and materials that help us to get into the river. Dangerous process because you don't know what lies inside there. I'm surprised the river just behind here has crocodiles. But when we go cleaning in the river, we don't have actually any thought about what could happen to our people cleaning the river from the river channel itself. So the best way to clean the river is to prevent the river from getting the dirty stuff. What comes through the road channels, the storm drain, should not get into the river to pollute the river, because ideally the river should actually be clean. It's been there for millions of years, so why is it now clean dirty? The reason why it's dirty is because our road construction channels waste to the lowest point, which is the river. Our drainage systems are also manufactured and made such that when they break, like the sewer line breaks, everything is spewed out into the environment, and the storm drains take the water and drain it into the river channel. I would mention of the Mudura sewage, which has even gotten itself into songs and stuff, where people say that the Mudura river sewage breaks every two weeks, and there are reasons for that. But now when you look at that, just as an example, it's happening all over. In the river, you still get sewage breaking, and it spews everything. The tissue paper, the plastic material used for sanitation. We get all that stuff getting to the river. But also, in addition to the solid waste, the human waste, industry waste, that is actually making the river very dirty.
So what you're known for, Mr. Wanjuki, is your efforts to help the entire globe, not just Kenya, to manage waste in the most health and cost-effective way.
Correct.
And I want us to get there. We are talking about waste management this particular morning, and on a basic level, what is your understanding of an effective waste management system?
Thank you. An effective waste management system is one that does not have any waste. At the end of the process, there should be no waste. That's why I've specialized in on-site waste management, where we actually champion such that your waste does not actually become waste in the environment. It actually, you turn it around. You can use that water for greening the environment. You can use it for carbon cleaning. You can discharge it to the environment in a safe manner. That is what we are calling the circular economy. If you get 1,000 liters from the Kaini, that 1,000 liters of water should not go to waste. It should go to some other use before finally you say, now I'm surrendering it to the environment. You can use the water 3 times. You use it for your kitchen cooking. You use it for bathing. Then you could turn this and use it for toilet flushing. You could turn this water around again and use it for greening. That's lawn irrigation. You could turn this water around and use it for feeding animals. You could use it for car washing, and by the time you are giving up this water,
it up to 3 times.
Yeah.
I mean, imagine how that would actually be a boost, especially in urban areas where there is a serious shortage of water for domestic use. But we'll get to how possible this is in just a bit. I'm taking you there in just a bit. The reason I asked you to define an effective waste management system is I want you to look at what we are doing now, because yes, we have a budgetary allocation for waste management. We have something that the government is doing in waste management. What are we doing, and what is it different from, how is it different from what you're describing this morning?
Thank you. Our training, and I quote the standards that are taught here in University of Nairobi. What they teach our engineers on handling waste is such that waste is actually something that you should get rid of as fast as possible. As soon as you can be able to part ways with water that you just used for washing your hands. The system is such that you lose that water to a septic tank that actually has no method of recycling.
Is there anything wrong with that?
Or even
You've
separating.
already used it.
Yeah, you've used it, but what have you added to your water? A few bacteria. It's not changed the character. It could go into your farm. You could use it for rain irrigation. You could use it for hydroponics. You could do fish farming with this water. But our design and the way our students are taught, architectural students are taught, is that there's a small chamber for holding the water overnight. The following day is out, and it is dirty water. That's why we actually find that all over this country, every 5-15 minutes, there's an exhauster passing you. And these are tanks that carry wastewater from Kiambu, Kikuyu town, taking to Ruai. Yet this water is just water that can actually be accepted by the ground. Farmers around Kiambu would use that water for irrigating their coffee farms.
So you want to tell me this water that is carried around in exhausters is the smell, I mean the dirt, everything that is contained in this water, you want to tell me this water can be turned into something that can be reused?
That's what you're calling odor. The technology we have developed as my company, Ecos of Africa, is that we eliminate odor instantly. Take odor out of water that is from your kitchen. Doesn't smell, doesn't have color, doesn't have an obnoxious material like other bacteria that can cause harm. That water becomes good. And you can use it. Even contact with it is not inexpensive. It's not risky. You are not risking your life by touching your own water. Your own compound, any water generated in your own compound is safe water, because there's no animal that has just come into your system that you would want to kill with chlorine. So it's easy. It's possible by changing our thinking about waste, that this water can actually be recycled. I quote normally a country like Israel. Their prime minister is always on TV saying Israel recycles 90% of their wastewater. In fact, they're just stopping short of saying 100%, because it's a dry country. Here in Africa, a country like Namibia recycles their wastewater. They don't have rain like we do have the luxury of rain for every other week. They have to recycle that water. Here in Kenya, we should focus in areas like the Asals. The president declared some parts of this country as drought-stricken and that require emergency intervention.
Disaster,
Yet, yesterday I saw on a TV item, the whole of, the water passing through past Garissa, a river that is so huge, and with that water is clean water. But we let it go to the ocean, then we ask for aid to help us feed ourselves. Yet that water should actually not end up in the ocean.
So how is this all possible? Because what you're describing is a very beautiful vision, because many people would actually want to have as much water as they need, for their domestic use. How is this possible? What is it that you do? How do you transform that water into clean, usable water?
Thank you. We've developed a biological material that breaks down waste completely, breaks down proteins, oils, grease, carbohydrates, everything. And what you're left with is clear. Water as clean as you are bottled drinking water. It has minerals that are even more than what you can get from borehole water. But these minerals are used for, as what was in your pizza. When we took the pizza, it went into your wastewater treatment system. Those minerals are still there. They are in milk. All those minerals, like you never hear people selling magnesium, which is in milk, as a fertilizer. we buy DAP, diammonium phosphate, we buy triple K. Nothing, no minerals like magnesium, manganese, zinc, they are not there, but they're in your wastewater. So before you let your wastewater go to waste, make sure you actually extract as much of the minerals as possible. The whole of Kajiado County is a dry zone. If it had the benefit of our wastewater from Ruai going past through Kajiado, it would be used for irrigation. It would have been filtered, the water is clean past all United Nations standards, WHO standards, KBC and NEMA. It's possible. Using a product we call EcoTreat, we've been able to turn the wastewater into such a clean water that there's no odor, there's no smell, there's no coloration, and there are no microorganisms like E. coli which you would fear when you use that water. So it's possible. We're teaching the world. We're actually selling our technology to more than 12 countries, including Europe and America.
Don't let your wastewater go to waste. That's actually something you can tweet about. Anyway, so how safe is it? You know, how safe is it? Because I believe there are standards. Even with the drinking water, there are standards that have to be observed. I mean, how safe is this water after you've recycled it using this particular procedure?
Recycled wastewater, especially when you do it on-site. On-site means that it's your own wastewater within your compound. We are not expecting that you are running a tannery, which would actually pollute the water to a condition that it's not usable. On-site waste management, all those estates in Nairobi, the Kirerechwa, from here going up to Kikuyu, there are no industries. Slaughterhouse waste is not a dangerous waste, so it can actually be recycled. It does not contain heavy metals. That is, once you have characterized your wastewater into clean water, you can access the safe water, then I can recycle it, clean it up, take it through all process, even into drinking. You can drink that water, you can use it for washing, so long as, and by this, there is no water that comes from outside this world. All the water we drink is recycled water. Only God takes longer to take it all the way to the ocean and make lane, and it comes in. The
natural recycling.
Yeah, nature does it. So we are only cutting shorter the journey. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with using recycled water to cool equipment in industries, to mix material for construction. There's nothing wrong with using that water. It's past their standards. And I personally, the kind of water we actually generate and give to the environment, and I'm saying this because NEMA, National Environment Management Authority, it's actually one of my clients, they use our system for their green points. It's past the highest standards, and that is what we should focus at. Past the standard, you can even raise the standards higher than the World Health Organization does.
So when you talk about this, Daniel, you know, managing wastewater, why is it important for us to begin thinking like that? Why is it important for us to ensure that no water goes to waste?
The first thing to imagine is that Nairobi was built in a river line, in a flood river area. But the water we have here, nobody takes water from our rivers here in Nairobi itself. Then we go to Sasumua and Nyandarua. Sasumua is in Nyandarua and Dakaine is in Murang'a. These people don't have enough water, yet we take their water, bring it to Nairobi. That's about 600 million liters per day. By midnight, all that water becomes waste. And we have to get more water from Dakaine to come and quench our thirst the following day. So you're talking about
every day, 7 days a week. Is it sustainable?
It is not sustainable, and yet when you talk about sustainability, the water from your kitchen, if it leaves your house, it goes to another industry. They can use it for turning leather or just even cooling the boilers and making steam from it, because it's not going to be taken. So this water that can now be available for other uses. Then you go to an area like, I use Kajiado because it's just next door. They have to dig deep 200, 300 meters to get borehole water to water their flowers in the flower farms. Yet, water that is from the borehole has salt, and they have to use a lot of equipment to remove salt from that water. Yet, if you just diverted our water from Nairobi. Instead of going to Ruai, it goes this way, goes towards Namanga. It would help all those farmers handle horticultural farming, create more resources. We would be able to export grapes to Israel. It's the other way around at the moment. And we would do a lot of horticultural farming if we diverted water from our industrial, our treatment plants. Let us select the companies that discharge toxic material into the river. We isolate them. Let the exhausters only pick that and take it to somewhere they can dump it, or we can go and make it evaporate, prevent it from getting to our rivers. But any other water from a hotel, from a university like next year, from Kibera, there's nothing wrong with waste coming from Kibera. It's just soap. Our product, our technology actually takes out soap or detergents from waste. There's nothing, completely nothing dangerous in that waste.
So this issue of water shortage, especially in urban areas, from where you sit, is it a problem we should be having?
We shouldn't be having shortage of fresh water. For example, the river passing through a few minutes, Group Cinema. All that water is going to waste, yet nothing. There's nothing dangerous in that water. The rivers has been cleaned, the river upstream. We've done some work that has enabled the slaughterhouse that used to discharge blood material into the river. Now they are no longer doing that, or it's been reduced. So this water should actually go into our freshwater systems. Even if we don't need all that volume, but allowed Shiromo area, we should have a place where you can capture clean water before it goes into Kariako slums. Use it, feed it to the next person who needs water around here, and progressively improve on the quality of water. I'm seeing nothing really coming from the slums that comes to make that water more dangerous to humans. Actually, it's just water. And so the technology we promote, and the issue of now trying to train our plumbers, our engineers, into actually conceptualizing that waste recycling is acceptable. We've been in the past told that, get rid of water is out of sight. To your neighbor's compound, it's out of sight, so you forget about it. But let's try to see this as a valuable material that we can actually take back into the economy, and that's create what we are calling circular economy.
All right, Daniel, how flexible are we as a country in terms of embracing such new innovations in waste management? I'm sure you've interacted with stakeholders in this field. What are they telling you? Where are we at in terms of implementing or embracing or even just accepting that this idea can be viable?
I have interacted. Okay, one way, the Minister of Environment, Minister of Water, Sanitation and Irrigation awarded us an award that recognizes that aspect of ability to recycle water and use it for good things. So the government is focusing on that. I would also be glad to say that the government has taken our technology for incubation and multiplication through the Kenya Climate Innovation Center at Strathmore. We are the 2021 cohorts. We just completed the process. We've been able to supply to government institutions like the prisons. So there is acceptance of this technology, but it is too much piecemeal. One ministry gets convinced, they are happy about it, but the government in its entirety has not adopted this idea in a way that we would actually be making all our county governments establish wastewater treatment systems that recycles water, that allows that water to be used for other mundane uses like irrigation. That platform has not been opened up for us to be able to put that. And I'm glad to say also that the United Nations, through the United Nations global markets, buys our product. So we've hit that market. It's only one person who get convinced from such a talk that comes and buy. But the technology of wastewater management should not be left to just just wishing that you do it. It should be a compulsory thing. It should be in the CBC. Today you talked about the CBC, the company-based curriculum. And that's actually what we are doing. We are actually trying to change the curriculum that is used at the Kenya Water Institute, TVETs, or the other TVETs that train plumbers, so that they actually open up their mind that it is possible to recycle wastewater and use it for other uses other than maybe potable water. Because maybe we are too comfortable.
Earlier when I was talking to you, you were talking to me about that difficulty you're facing in changing the mindset of Kenyans when it comes to this whole issue. I mean, talk to me about how you're going about it. You're currently engaged in quite a number of training institutions, training people. Why is this important? Why was it important for you to come from being a CEO to go to the classroom and actually start training those who, why is this important, and how is the country going to benefit from this? Yeah,
I've pointed out that the difficulty even in convincing our technocrats, our engineers, our architects. Today, if you buy the idea of wastewater recycling and you do a nice drawing and you take it to the city council, for the county government for approval, they will tell you, oh, this one doesn't look like what we know. They will tell you, just go draw the other one, the one that we know. That is the 1952 building code that has been taught in our university since then. And they want you to use that for approval. Then they tell you, when you go back to your construction, do whatever it is that those things you are imagining.
You can adjust.
You can adjust to that. And actually, I've had difficulties convincing city planners on how to adopt this technology. The other aspect is, and the reason why I have actually gone into the curriculum, changing the curriculum, is that we notice that when you are talking about greening or getting greener, the world is trying to become greener. There is no base foundation for that. Because when you recycle wastewater, your public health officer may come and actually take you to court for handling waste. I have had difficulties with the lecturers at the universities who say, no, I did this technology, but it failed, and so I'm not teaching my students this. Of course, now when we come with our technology, we actually taking them through the process of growing it. They see from the start. Now that the government has adopted it through the Climate Change Innovation Center, we are now bold to actually influence policymakers. We are doing an EIA, an environmental impact assessment on our technology that helps anybody with fears to actually see that we have taken care of those fears, those impacts and such on their curriculum, the new curriculum. So we are making a new curriculum that when your son or daughter go to learn construction, he learns about greening. Greening is where we say a building like this one should grow alone near later fruit garden, such. And this has not been easy because whenever you try to push it, the structure, the curriculum, the syllabus does not allow for that.
All right. Your role in environmental conservation, stands out. In 2019, is it? You were awarded, the Eco Safi Award. Talk to us about this award and how significant it was for you as an environmentalist, and how it has shaped your way of life.
Thank you. In 2019, the Ministry of Water, Sanitation and Irrigation held the second sanitation conference in Africa. The first one was in South Africa. The second one was in Nairobi at the KICC. And during that conference, we presented our proposal on how we do waste management. And when we presented our technology, the judges actually awarded us one of the highest awards. I would say we were actually ranked in the international category. We were given the most outstanding innovation in the international category for the and that is international. That means we were not
beyond
we were outside, and so nobody would come and say, okay, it's international, but south of the equator. No, it was actually the whole world. 67 countries were represented, and so the judges found that we had the best technology for waste management that was also coupled with a very important aspect of waste management, the elimination of methane gas during waste management. Most of the systems in the house generate, the septic tank generate copious amount of methane gas, which is actually blamed for causing global warming. And in our technology, we have taken the equation, the methane forming equation out of the waste management. This is the first for the whole world. We will say proudly that this was the first, and that other countries have actually sold to the Americans, have delivered to their embassies here, and they have adopted that technology. I have to say that we are selling to United Nations global markets. They've seen the potential in actually eliminating methane gas from waste management. That pit latrine, the school pit latrine that generates bad odor, methane gas is being neutralized, and there is no more methane gas being generated from such sites. And that is actually, that should be a breaking news item if it were conceptualized like that one. And we say this at African technology. The bacteria we use is actually locally available. We got it from the soil, and we use it for controlling waste for industries, for domestic setups, and every other place like piggeries where we have slaughterhouse, any other food chain. We actually eliminate methane formation.
All right, using EcoTreat?
Using EcoTreat with digester.
All right, so we want to wind up this conversation, and many a times I've had this before, that Kenya, we actually lagging behind when it comes to waste management. Other countries have gone ahead of us, cite countries like Rwanda. I mean, what is it that we need to do different to get there? What is it, as your parting shot, what should we do different in terms of how we manage waste in this country?
My first observation is that besides us having the word that we've repeated here in this forum many times, we don't see the government coming out to say, oh, we are unable to do this, can you help us? Because I know the county government of Nairobi has issues with wastewater through the slums. Their sewage keep on breaking. Some of their contractors come and buy our product when they want to just repair a section of the river, of the sewer line. I'm confusing with the river because they're actually almost synonymous. And they use our product to control bad odor, or gases that are being generated during the repair. Sometimes when the sewer line repair can be so bad that you actually collapse there, you actually suffocate. And to stop that, they buy our product and use it for preparing the sewer line for repairs. So they know about it. We've also talked about the Kenya prisons using our product for a number of years. And then when you come to waste management, at whatever level, we are able to change that. Besides that, Kenya is actually garnering at reducing their contribution of carbon dioxide. This can be done by simply adopting EcoTreat waste digester as the way we use whatever projects we do, wastewater management, schools, sewerage, and septics, using our product. It would actually cut down tremendously on our contribution of carbon dioxide to the environment.
All right, thank you so much for your time. Of course, talking about wastewater management this morning, I've been talking to Daniel Wanjuki, the CEO of EcoSave Africa. And of course, earlier we had a conversation around the competency-based curriculum. Currently, there is an ongoing forum at Hilton Hotel. Stakeholders are discussing the issues emanating from the implementation process. We will be giving you more details about that in some of the issues we are following up for you in the course of the day. My name is Serfine Achieng Oma, and my son language interpreter has been Anne Wangeshi, of course assisted earlier by Lensa Odingo. We are now going to be paving way for the Swahili team to take it over from here. We are going to be having Kurunzi Mashinani and later Tamrini, so do stand by for that. Enjoy the rest of your viewing.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
taking over the city. Yeah. All the girls them call them boys. Tell them that me I'm ready for party.
Don't take no blame if me not play no game that's not right. Mr. Stop Light, no say you not stop it and no stop black traffic and I act like Mr. Stop Light. Michelle and Simone put him in a friend zone.
Upuzi wako sitaki. Na nakwambia sitaki siku nyingine.
Ni ndoto, yani naota ndoto mbaya kila saa.
Wacha kujifanya wazimu hapa wewe. Wewe unajua kila kitu. You know everything.
Na siwezi kumfanyia kitu chochote nikamdhuru. I swear.
Taki anti pia nipe kazi zake tena. Yule mama na pepo chafu.
Kate, please. Onyamini mpenzi wangu Kate, please niachilie.